All right, welcome Michele Wong. She's going to tell us about a legacy of learning, the SMUD Museum of Science and Curiosity. Michele Wong is the executive director of the SMUD Museum of Science and Curiosity, known as MOSAC. It is the successor to the Discovery Museum. After 15 years of hard work, the museum opened a year ago this month, taking over the vacant PG&E building located just north of downtown. Ms. Wong will tell us about MOSAC's exhibits, events, and programs to inspire children to go into science, technology, engineering, and math fields of study known as STEM. But MOSAC does not exclude adults. After all, its mission is lifelong learning. For example, there are monthly events designed specifically for adults, often in the evenings. In October, they offered the Science of Spirits. No, not metaphysics, but a program about distilling spirits, which included tastings from local distilleries and snacks. On November 17th, MOSAC hosts a program on volcanology. A graduate of UC Davis with a degree in mathematics and computer science, Michele Wong was the CEO of Synergex International Corporation, a software company headquartered in Sacramento. She continues as a director. Ms. Wong has served in leadership positions on boards, including the Sacramento Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, KVIE, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Michele Wong, the screen is yours.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. I'm excited to be here today to share with you a little bit about MOSAC. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the project, how we got here. So the organization has been around for over 70 years. Many of you probably had visited the Discovery Museum of Science over on Auburn Boulevard prior to this. And for over 15 years, the board has been working on raising the funds required to build this new iconic science center that would be more worthy of the 5th largest economy in the world. So we have a board of directors that guided this process. We started our capital campaign back in 2008. And as mentioned, we opened our doors November 13th of 2021. So it's been a long time coming, and we're very excited to be here. MOSAC includes this historic power station that was built in 1912. And we built on 2 additional buildings. We have 22,000 square feet of exhibit space, 100+ exhibits overall. We have this full dome digital planetarium, which you can see sticking up in the sky, and a retail store. We're going to be having a full service cafe that's opening in December. Right now we have a pop-up cafe that we've been using. So MOSAC's mission is to serve as a dynamic regional hub that engages and inspires people of all ages to explore the wonders, possibilities, and responsibilities of science. We want to look at the science that's involved in ourselves, in our lives, on our planet, and of course, beyond our planet in space. The historic building was actually designed by a famous architect, Willis Polk. It was built in 1912 as an auxiliary power source for the city of Sacramento. The main power station was in Folsom in the 1920s, and it was upgraded and became the largest electric steam station in Northern California. By the 1940s, PG&E used it for test purposes only, and it officially closed in 1954. The vacant building changed hands many times. And in 2006, the city of Sacramento issued an RFP, and the Powerhouse Science Center organization, which is the name of our 501c3, was awarded the contract. So the cement structure was so deteriorated that when we began the project, the first thing they had to do was build this $1.5 million steel exoskeleton around the building to be able to do seismic upgrades. The contractor for the project was Auto Construction, and our architect were Dreyfus and Blackford. I'm just going to show you a few of the pictures along the way. It was quite a project. We're right on the river, and you can see right here is the water intake facility, which supplies all of the water for the city of Sacramento. The water comes in through this intake facility. It goes under the freeway, and the wastewater treatment plant, the water treatment plant is over on the other side of the freeway. So we are actually working with the city of Sacramento to develop programs where we can do some educational programs in the water intake facility as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the exhibition galleries, because that's really what things are all about here. The first gallery on the first floor is called Nature Detectives. So Nature Detectives was designed for the younger kids. They can use tools and learn processes and things that will help them to become citizen scientists. They are encouraged to use all 5 senses to discover the world around them. The Water Challenge is an exhibit that has an exhibition area that's been set up. We have so many different partners in this project. We've got the Sacramento Sanitation, we've got Department of Water Resources, a lot of different agencies, water related agencies were involved for years before we opened to help develop this exhibition gallery. Of course, we all know that water is a challenge in California, and we wanted this science center to really be more than just every other science center in the country. We wanted to really address issues that were locally relevant and be able to talk about how they affect the rest of the world. So it's so this Water Challenge exhibit area is really one of those areas. We talk about how water comes to our taps. We talk about all the different uses of water. We talk about how important it is to conserve water. We have a whole section on how to conserve water at home. Another exhibition area in the downstairs galleries is the health headlines. So this is an area where we can highlight new discoveries and developments in healthcare, medical technology, wellness, and we're focused specifically on innovations that have been developed in our region. Building Sacramento. This is a huge favorite, especially of families and the small kids. We provide an opportunity to introduce design and engineering concepts for younger children, and families have the opportunity to create and build things together. And it's a really, really fun area. The kids loved coming back here, but I've seen lots of adults that are having just as much fun as the kids. Powering Change is another one of those kind of iconic exhibition areas that is very locally and regionally relevant. We're talking about climate change, the ways that we can be transitioning into a more sustainable, non-carbon energy-based communities. It's interesting, SMUD actually committed to sponsoring this particular exhibit area about 8 years before we opened. And it just happened to coincide, our opening just happened to coincide with the announcement of their goal for the Sacramento region to be completely carbon-free in our energy creation by 2030. So this is a really exciting goal, and we want to be part of educating the community about what that means, what we can do to help in this transition. We talk about sustainable building, we talk about transportation, we talk about waste, all of those kinds of things that affect climate change. Destination space, of course, this is upstairs now. We're in the upstairs galleries now. Destination space is always fascinating to all ages. We highlight technologies and strategies that have been used in designing transport vehicles, investigating challenges for storing and recycling food, water, and air. And we look at a little bit of history, what's gone on in the past to get us where we are today. We talk about, the original moon landing and that sort of thing. But then on the other side of the gallery, we're focused on where are we going next, and colonizing Mars, and how could that be done, and what kinds of things are we going to have to be able to do to make that happen. Then we have our UC Davis Multiverse Theater. So this is not just a planetarium. It's also a theater, a full dome theater that can provide a full dome picture and projection. We have a complete library available to us of films that can be shown in this medium. We have 100 seats in the dome, and we are showing on a daily basis. We do planetarium shows. We have several different planetarium shows that we show on regular cycles. Each one is about 20 minutes long. And then in addition to that, we have films that we show on a regular basis as well. And then we do special films that we show every once in a while for special programs as well. It's a very popular venue. Design Lab. So this is an area where we're providing some of the older kids, middle school, high schoolers, with hands-on immersive engagement in design and engineering. And this is something where we want them to understand that you're not going to get it right the first time. And it's a process. And it's as important to fail as it is to succeed, because that's how you learn. That's how you learn what's working and what's not working. So this is a really exciting area for us to try to engage some of the older kids and provide Saturday workshops, provide after school clubs and that sort of thing, so that we can really get those kids engaged and interested in potentially someday entering careers that are the STEM related careers. I wanted to mention also that when we began designing our exhibition galleries, we had an advisory committee that had key stakeholders from K-12 school teachers, college and university professors, representatives from the various school districts, etc. And we developed a master plan, worked with some of the best exhibit designers from around the country to create the various exhibit halls. Our overall objectives for our exhibits were to look at global issues, but make them locally relevant. One of our big motivators is to spark curiosity. We want people to leave here asking more questions and being curious and wanting to learn more. And then also to promote call to action. What can I do? What can I do about this? And have people thinking about that as they walk out the door as well. We also really wanted to make sure that everything was very hands-on and interactive and fun. We want people to walk away remembering or knowing that science is fun. Our featured exhibition gallery is also upstairs. This is an area where we not only can bring in traveling exhibits, but we also have use it as a space where we can do rentals, we can do public events, we can do corporate events. But what we're doing there on a regular basis, we have stage shows multiple times a day where our educators will get up on stage and do demonstrations and talk and present about various topics. And lots of fun. And it's kind of a, Bill Nye the Science Guy kind of a thing. And then, excuse me, we also can have, an area right now in there. Our exhibit is called Design Challenge. And this is an area, there's 3 different design challenges that are set up at various workstations throughout the area. And the kids and their families can work together on these design challenges, and it's a lot of fun. So I wanted to talk also a little bit about the educational program that we do. We bring in dozens of classes every day for field trips. So we not only just do, a lot of the school children will come in and just come in for a field trip and tour the museum and spend a couple of hours in the museum. But the majority of them, in addition to visiting the museum, will do classes. We have these 60-minute labs that we provide. We have educators who are teaching those classes. All of them have classroom experience. And they'll spend time both in the lab and also on the floor. We also do planetarium shows. So we'll do specific curriculum that's by grade level that provides them with some additional curriculum-based content. We also do outreach classes. We go on site to schools and provide some of those labs that I talked about. We do scout programs and weekend workshops. And we have a very popular summer camp. In fact, we had our first camp season before we even opened our doors. We started camps in June of 2021. And that first summer had over 900 kids for summer camp, and they had a ball. So in addition to the school programs, we also do public programming. So there's a lot of different things that we're doing and a lot of new programs that we're creating as we go along. One of those that's been very popular is called MOSAC Nights. So MOSAC Nights was developed for 21 plus. We are doing, as was mentioned during my introduction, we do different themes every month. The next one in November, as mentioned, was that we're doing volcanology. So what we bring in speakers, often from, many of them are from the university, but we bring in some of the best experts on the different topics. We have breakout sessions. We provide a light dinner, and there's a bar where you can have wine and beer and sometimes cocktails. And it's a really fun and enjoyable time for everybody to get together and do a little bit of visiting and networking, but also while learning some science. What kind of impact? So just in this first year that we've been open, of course, it is our first year, and it's been a little bit challenging because we were still dealing, especially the first part of the year with COVID. So, but in spite of that, we've had over 100 visitors. We've had over 7,000 students come in on field trips. We've done 80+ outreach visits. We've got over 100 volunteers who've been through our training and are engaged on a regular basis. We have over 5,000 members, and we've launched several different programs, including MOSAC nights. This is a project that has taken a village for sure. And I mentioned, you know, it was over 15 years in the making, but I just wanted to recognize SMUD is our main presenting sponsor, but there are so many individuals, corporations, state and local government, as well as agencies that have supported the project and continue to support the museum as we're developing our programs and helping us sustain this great mission. So there's all kinds of ways you can get involved to help support the museum. Become a member, of course. You can volunteer. You can provide scholarships. We're really focused on trying to reach out and bring in students that would not normally have this kind of an opportunity. And then, of course, spread the word. So now I am open for questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Great presentation. And as we're waiting for any questions to come in on our Q&A line, I had a few things. So you just gave some great numbers about number of attendees and members and everything. Do those meet your goals for the first year? Are you within your expectations of what you were hoping to be able to do?
So as we go forward, we're hoping to have closer to over 200,000 visitors each year. A huge portion of those visitors are the students and the field trips. And unfortunately, the school districts in Sacramento were not allowed to do any field trips until March of this last year. So our first year was really stunted by the fact that we couldn't have school field trips. But since March, we have been having field trips come in, and in fact, we had 13 schools here earlier this week, all in one day, and we've been getting a lot of registration. So I'm confident that this year we will have over 200,000 visitors.
Good. That sounds great. So of all the companies and supporters that you listed, are they all people that are helping subsidize this, or is it paid for by SMUD and memberships, or how are you paid for?
So about 60% of our revenue comes from earned operations. So that means admissions, memberships, field trip fees. We have a retail store that generates revenue as well. So about 60% of our revenue comes from those earned sources. The other 40% comes from grants and sponsorships and donations. We get grant funding from state and local government. We get individual contributions, and we also get a lot of corporate sponsorships, people who are sponsoring particular programs. a lot of those people that were listed are people who made long-term, in many cases, 15-year pledges to help us with the construction costs and repayment of the bonds that we used for constructing the building.
Great, that sounds great. So if we go on to the website, the visitmosac.org website, is that a place where you can get on a mailing list so you can get information pushed out to you?
Yes, as a matter
Especially
of
when you
fact,
have the adult only?
I'm going to go back to the previous slide. So visit mosac.org. If you scroll down partway down the page, there is a place where you can specifically subscribe to our newsletter. And if you subscribe to the newsletter, then you learn about all the things that we have going on a regular basis. You learn about MOSAC nights and things like that. We also have, you can also follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook.
What's the cost on MOSAC nights for adults?
It depends on what we're doing. It's typically $30 to $45, depending on what we're doing and if we're including dinner.
Okay, great. Well, I've been able to vamp long enough. We've got some other questions coming in. So somebody's asking, what's the best day of the week after 3:30 to bring a 6-year-old grandchild?
We're on weekdays, we're only open until 4 o'clock. So after 3:30 is a tough one. We're open till 5 on the weekends. During the summer, we were open till 5, but on weekdays during the winter, we're only open until 4 o'clock. So, but I can say that 9 o'clock in the morning on the weekends is member hour. And so you can come in earlier than anybody else if you are a member. If there is like minimum days and things like that, weekdays are definitely much slower, and it's easier, to spend a lot of time and have a lot more free space.
Okay. Is the original Powerhouse still visible? Or able to be seen from the inside?
The outside of the building is precisely the way that it was. The Historic Society has paid special attention as we were doing our construction to making sure that everything was restored to the same types of materials and colors and everything that was always there. On the inside, they have had us do some specific things that kind of hinted at what the original purpose of the building was for. So for example, we've put in a second floor. Originally, it was just all one big expansive space, of course, because they had those giant turbines and steam engines and such. Right. But now we have a second floor, but we've left some of the spaces open on each end upstairs so that you can kind of get a feeling for just how big and expansive the space is. There's another area where they've had us put in these kind of round tubes that are supposed to represent the original, where the original smokestacks were, things like that. So, and all the glass is done the way that it was originally done in the historic building. So most of it is not clear glass. But there is one window where we have clear glass where you can see the river and the cityscape, but otherwise it's all the original type of glass.
Okay, great. So a couple of people have asked questions that may be answered on your website, but I'm not sure. What do volunteers do, and how do you go about becoming a docent or a tour guide if that's what they do? Is that
So,
information on
so
your
there is
site?
a place on the website where you can sign up to be a volunteer, but also if you just call our main number and ask, say that you're interested in volunteering. We do at least once a month, usually a couple times a month, we do new volunteer orientations. And so you get to come in, and at that time, you get a little bit of training and you get a complete tour and an overview. And then you get to talk to our volunteer coordinators about what kinds of things you're interested in doing. So some of the kinds of things that people do, a lot of them are just on the floor, helping guide people around, answering questions, that kind of thing. And then you get to learn as you're here more and more, you get to learn more and more about the exhibits. And so you can kind of interact with people as they're interacting with the exhibits. Other things you can do, we often bring volunteers in to help prepping for school field trips, prepping for the programs, cutting things out, making copies, all that kind of stuff. We, during the summer, when we have summer camp, we have people come in and volunteer to help with summer camp, as well as, even helping oversee lunches, during field trips and summer camps and things like that. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. We have some people that are really good at, like woodworking and things like that, that actually help out with some of the projects and engineering projects and challenges that we put together, things like that. There's lots of opportunities. So once you come in for an orientation, you just kind of talk to them about what are your special skills, what are you interested in. Great.
What about the scholarship programs some other people are asking about? Is there information on your site there, and how do they work?
So
give us a high level summary.
We started a scholarship fund actually during Giving Tuesday this last year, and we're building that scholarship fund. We work with community organizations that have the direct relationships with it, so that we can identify schools and families who would not normally be able to come in. So a lot of our scholarships are used for Title I schools that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to come.
Great. We got a couple of comments. Somebody said they took their grandson all around to exciting different places in Sacramento, but the MOSAC was their favorite, his 10-year-old favorite.
Oh, great. That's great to hear.
Overall. So that's, yeah, I'm sure. Let's see. Can you tell us anything about the hazardous contamination and cleanup that was needed before the building was started and or as it was being built? Were there any issues about that?
So it's interesting. The majority of the cleanup was done before we took possession. It was the state owned the building after PG&E, then the state owned the building. It was the Department of Water Resources. And then they transferred the building to the city. And before they transferred it to the city, they did the cleanup. So it was a Superfund site. And the cleanup was done years ago for the majority of it. They put in what they call a clay cap. And then as we were doing our building, we just had to be completely stay away from that clay cap. So we couldn't penetrate that clay cap. So the design of the building had to be such that we never penetrated that clay cap. The only additional cleanup that we had to do was really, well, there were lots and lots of pigeons and bats in the building for years. And so there was lots of bat guano and pigeon poop and that sort of thing. So we had to get all that cleaned up. But then also in the basement, there were some asbestos issues and things like that. So we actually ended up filling that in because it was going to be way too costly to try to redo it and also have it be seismically sound.
All kinds of challenges.
It was an
What percentage of your displays are hand?
Yeah, I
bet.
mean, in addition to it being a historic structure, it's on the levee, right? So the Army Corps of Engineers had a great interest. The Historic Society had a great interest. It's right next door to a park, is owned by the city. You know, so there were all these different issues that that came into play, but I'm really proud to tell you that despite starting with a historic structure, we were just recently given the distinction of being a LEED Platinum building, which is the highest level of LEED certification.
That's great.
So we were very proud of that.
Congratulations. That says a lot. I know that's a big deal.
Thank you.
What percentage of your displays are hands-on? You have a sense of what percentage?
Almost all of them are hands-on. I'm trying to think of what isn't. Almost all of them are hands-on. There's really there's a couple of things that are videos that are displayed on the wall and things like that. For example, in the space area, there's some big screens that have, there's footage from the International Space Station. There's some things where a rocket's taking off, things like that. But everything's pretty much interactive and hands-on.
Great. Do you have to be vaccinated to it or prove vaccination?
No, we stopped doing that. We stopped doing that last, I want to say April or May. We stopped doing the proof of vaccination, and masks are no longer required. There are people who still wear masks. In fact, a lot of our collaborators and people that are on the floor, a lot of our employees still wear masks, but they're not required anymore.
Okay. Just for convenience of our viewers, can you give us the phone number that's best for people to call if they have questions?
Sure. It's 916 674 5000.
5000. 916-674-5000.
Yes, and we
or
have
the website, I'm sure.
In the website. So yeah, it you know, we have a team that guest services that answers the phones, and they can do everything from, you know, signing you up for events, or telling you more about field trips, volunteer opportunities. We do encourage, even though it's no longer required to schedule your visit ahead of time, we do encourage you to schedule your visit ahead of time, just to make sure that you're not disappointed, especially if you're coming on a weekend, because we sometimes we're very busy on the weekends.
Great. Some other people have commented how wonderful it is that you found wonderful use for that beautiful old building, and I would concur. Every time we drove by it, it's like, when are they going to do something with that?
Well, and I have to say, you know, there were discussions about private development and different things, but I have to say, at the end of the day, the project, just the construction, was over $60 million. And there were so many issues that had to be dealt with that I can't imagine that a private development would have ever gotten done. Really, right. The city was very supportive. The city put quite a bit of money into it, and because they really wanted to see this succeed.
Okay, great. That's about all the questions we have from our folks in Zoom land. Why don't we go over to Del Norte and see if they have any questions in the room there?
Thanks, Christy.
Somebody
Hi,
want to take that
Michelle.
over?
Hi.
From Del Norte Hall here on campus, the audience would really like to thank you very much. This is tremendously informative presentation. We're happy to have you. But a couple of our members were asking, what are the hours? Could you review the hours of operation or
Sure. So Monday through Friday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But we do have members are allowed to come in as early as 9. And then Saturday, we're open from 10 to 5, again with a member hour at 9. And then on Sunday, we're open from 10 to 5. We do not have a special member hour on Sundays.
Thank you.
I was able to be one of the 105,000 that came to see the museum last year. It's absolutely stunning. We came for an afternoon and we have to come back because it was just not nearly enough time. I'd like to have my grandchildren schedule their summer visit around your summer camp. Can you tell me a little bit more about what happens during your summer camp, please?
Sure. So our summer camps are for kindergarten through 6th grade. They're divided into, by age group, and they're each a week long. They come in the morning at 9 and they're here till 4 for the whole week. And we have several different themes, and we usually announce those in the early spring. And registration goes very quickly, so you need to keep your eyes out for that. We usually start registration in March, and there's 9 weeks of summer camp. They start right after school ends, and they go through the middle of August, right up until school starts again.
I don't think we have any further questions here at Del Norte, Michelle, but once again, we just really like to sincerely thank you for this fabulous presentation.
You're welcome.